Hello! I am here to do a video that I don't do very often because I have been working on bringing in less books, but we have a book haul for you today because my nanny family that I work for, they told me about this charity that is a local charity that runs these big book sales for their charity, which gives books to kids. So they take the proceeds from donated books that they sell and they then give books to children that need them. If you can see that I dripped water on myself, it's because I went to take a drink before filming and forgot how to drink like a human and spilled all over myself and didn't want to wait for it to fully dry. So if you see drips on my shirt, that's what they're from. This book sale is like 50 cents per book, and you know, I was kind of thinking like, I don't know if they're gonna have actually like good books, but my nanny family, the mom was telling me like, no, they're actually like really good books. You can find like new releases, you can find like good things there. It's not just like people's old like books that no one wants. There are obviously like some books that are like super old that no one wants there, but for the most part they were good, and every single book is 50 cents except for children's books, which are 10 cents. It was like super cheap. I bought 27 books because I kept finding books that I was really excited about and interested in. And when they're only 50 cents, I was like, at the very least, I can donate this back next month if I decide I don't want to read it. Because the fun thing about it was, like, so many people are like, oh, if I buy a book and I already had it, then I can just bring it back next month or something. Like, you know, that's like the thing, is people were like bringing like 2 huge boxes of books, donating them, and then going to shop. So it's almost like a library that's just continuously regenerating because people are like bringing in books and you're paying for them, obviously, and donating them for free, but it's like a library that you pay a little bit for. So I have a ton of books. I'm going to jump into them. Some of them are ones I know a lot about and I was really excited to find. Some are ones that I just took a chance on. So we will start with maybe the ones I know the least about, but they sounded really interesting when I saw them and kind of wanted to try them. Okay, so this section is a lot of mystery as well as some fantasy because I was enjoying just looking at the mysteries and picking out books that sounded interesting and fun. So we're going to talk about that. And then there is a fantasy that I don't know much about, but I'm interested in because of the author. I actually have like a couple of those. So the first book is by Rebecca Makkai, and I have seen this book around and didn't really know what it was about. It's basically about a woman whose roommate was murdered when she was at a boarding school, and it's her getting drawn back into the case like years later and kind of questioning like what actually happened. And I know this is like a best-selling author. Rebecca Makkai is the author of The Great Believers, which I had seen around. So I thought this would be fun to check out, see what this author is like, if I like the writing, and having like a literary book with like a little genre fiction bent, like a mystery or a fantasy speculative element, is usually a pretty good way for me to like get into the writing, because I don't always like just like straight literary fiction, but like something that has like that little element to get me hooked definitely can work for me. Another mystery that I have is a Icelandic, and that's Snowblind by Ragnar Jónasson. I did read what this was about a little while ago, but I've forgotten. I have seen this author before and maybe heard of this book. It kind of looked familiar. So it's about a rookie policeman who like finds a young woman who's bleeding and unconscious, and a highly esteemed elderly writer who falls to his death. And it's this like close-knit community where it's like things are falling apart, and then they're maybe learning like you can't trust people as much as you thought you could. And so that just sounds interesting. It's like a short, fast read that like this could be perfect for winter. And maybe I'll find like a new favorite thriller writer. So another book that is by an author I've heard of, but I don't see around very often, is like T.M. Logan. So there's a book, I can't remember the name of it, by this author that I really want to read. I've heard good things about. It's maybe called The Puppet Show, if I'm thinking of the right book. So this is one of his earlier books, and I don't know anything about it other than I knew the author and was like, I've been wanting to try the author, but the author isn't really stocked at my library very much. So I was like, maybe I can just try it this way. It's about this man who thinks his wife is cheating because she goes to a hotel parking garage. She's arguing with her best friend's husband, and then Joe confronts the man, and then the man goes missing, and he's like suspected. So it just sounds like a kind of a domestic thriller where he doesn't know who to trust, and he's kind of wrapped up into a mystery that he didn't really have a part in, or did he? You know, like one of those. It doesn't sound like the most compelling, but like I said, I'm interested in trying the author to decide if I want to invest in the author's other books that sound interesting, kind of get a feel for it. Then I found this book that sounds like so interesting, and I was like, I can't believe I haven't heard of it. I don't think, but title and author did look a little familiar. So this is called The Deadlands, and this sounds like it's a post-apocalyptic book, but set like back in the 1800s. I think it's like there's a flu, like a pandemic happens, and a bunch of people are wiped out. There's like a wall that's built around St. Louis, and then some people are like trying to go out of St. Louis to like see what's happened in the apocalypse. And I love post-apocalyptic books, and I think one set in like a pre-technology era where it's like they were used to not being connected to everyone all the time. They were used to not having electricity everywhere. Like, that sounds really interesting to me, so I hope I like that one. And then I found a Nora Roberts that was on my TBR. I've been looking for this one at the library and haven't seen it, but this is one that I can't remember why it was on my TBR, but it's on my TBR for a reason. With Nora Roberts being who Nora Roberts is, this doesn't even have like a description. So my guess is this would be either a marriage of convenience, because I do like that trope, or someone who's read a lot of Nora Roberts recommended this one specifically in a way that made me want to pick it up. But I don't think I wrote who recommended it on Goodreads or on Storygraph, so I don't know for sure, but I've tried a few of her books that haven't been for me. I've DNF'd them quite quickly. So this was kind of like, if I was going to like one, it would be this one kind of thing. Okay, and then the next book I actually have two by the same author, because I found one, sounded interesting, found another one, it sounded interesting, so I decided to pick them both up. This is a book called 4321 by Paul Auster, and it says it was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, so that's probably where I saw this originally, and it was one of those books that, like, you see, and then you kind of just like go, that's not really for me, and then you never think about it again. Well, I like saw a big chunky book, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, and I read what it was about, and I was like, that could be kind of interesting. And so it's about a boy who's born in 1947, and it says, from that single beginning, Ferguson's life will take 4 simultaneous and independent fictional paths. 4 boys who are the same boy will go on to lead 4 parallel and entirely different lives. And I don't really understand how that can be, other than maybe it's just talking about like what way could your life go, but depending on choices you make. But that sounds kind of interesting. This is a massive book. This is 960 pages. So like, what a chunker. So I was definitely like, I would want to own this to be able to try to read it, and I would probably, like, I don't know if I'm going to like it or if I'm going to get 10 pages and get rid of it, but it sounds intriguing. And then the other book that I found by him later was in the mystery section, and it was this tiny little thing. So, like, he definitely can write different lengths of things. This one is 200 pages. It does have very small writing. This one says, a man recovering from a near-fatal illness enters a stationery shop in Brooklyn and buys a blue notebook. It is September 18th, 1982, and for the next 9 days, Orr will live under the spell of this blank book, trapped inside a world of eerie premonitions and bewildering events. And I'm like, someone who buys a notebook and then, like, is trapped because of what's inside it or what he writes in it? I don't know. It sounds interesting. And then onto some fantasy I got. So this one has one of the worst covers I've ever seen in my entire life. And I love it for that. This is Michelle Segarra's Into the Darklands. Michelle Segarra writes books under Michelle Segarra West, and Michelle West. I read a book by Michelle West recently. It didn't go very well. I DNF'd it. Spoilers for my Taming the Shelves vlog. If you haven't seen that already, or if it's not out yet, I don't know the order these vlogs will be going out. I DNF'd it, but it wasn't like because I hated it. I actually pushed through like over 50% of it, and I really liked the writing and the characters. It was just like the structure of the book and the amount of characters wasn't working for me. So this is a fantasy series. I don't even know what it's about, but it's called The First Book of the Sundered. Erin's birthright was the healing magic, her inheritance was vengeance, and her fate lay in the hand of her greatest enemy. I think this is just solid fantasy. I'm not sure, but I think so. It may be like a fantasy romance or something like that, but it's about a woman who's a healer. It sounds interesting, and I definitely want to check out more of her books. And since like the epicness of the other book was kind of what made me DNF it, I'm hoping that like a 300-page book might be a little better. And then another of her books written under the Michelle Segarra name is Cast in Shadow. And this one I think is more of like an urban fantasy, which I do like when I can find good ones. So this one is set in a city that's not like our world. It's set in the crime-riddled streets of Nightshade. Children are being killed. They have the same odd markings appear on their skin as are on her skin. She becomes like part of the Hawks, which are like the police in this world, and she's like trying to figure out why kids are dying. And that just sounds like it could be interesting, like a mystery fantasy. I know that's been a very popular genre in fantasy lately, and this sounds like it could be interesting. I'm definitely intrigued by it. And then another author who I read a book by and really liked, I found 3 books in a series by her. So I was like, since they're 50 cents, I'm just going to pick them up. I didn't even look at what the series was about. It's by Carol Berg. This is Son of Avenar, Guardians of the Keep. Those are books 1 and 2. And then they didn't have book 3, but they had book 4, Daughter of Ancients. So I picked them all up, figuring, well, I can track down book 3 if I'm really into the series later. This is about a noblewoman living in exile who ends up sheltering a fugitive in her home. And the man, like, doesn't really remember who he is, and she needs to help him remember because it might unleash an apocalypse if she doesn't. I don't know. It sounds chaotic and weird. So I'm kind of intrigued to check this series out. I do need to finish the duology that I started by her, but then I'll have something else of hers to read. Okay, I think all the other books I kind of knew what they were about and have been on my radar. So I grabbed a sequel. This is the 4th book in a series that I haven't even started, But again, when it's 50 cents, I may as well grab it. I can just donate it if I decide I don't want to read the series. This is The Warrior's Bond by Juliet E. McKenna. The first book in this series is called The Thief's Gamble. I've heard it's very, very good. I've heard from people who I trust pretty well that it's a very, very good series. And so I was like, I'm just going to grab this and I'll just have it for when I get to that series. And then I found 2 books by Seanan McGuire in her Encrypted series. I was just telling you in my winter TBR how much I love cryptids. And so this is a series, an urban fantasy series about a woman whose family like hunts down cryptids, I think. And I found the first 2 books in the series, and so I grabbed them. This is one that I definitely want to try out because I love Seanan McGuire's writing. Not in everything, but in a lot of things I like her writing. So I was eager to grab these so I can read them and check them out. I grabbed the 3rd book in another fantasy series that I haven't started yet. This is one by Mary Stewart. This does match, I think, the other 2 versions that I have, or at least it closely matches. This is an Arthurian retelling. I am planning to try the series very soon, if I haven't already by the time you're seeing this video, so that I'll kind of know whether or not I need this 3rd book in the quartet, or if I'm going to be giving it all away, in which case I'll be giving the first 3 books away. So, you know, it'll all work out even if I don't read it. I found a book that my mom has recommended. After she finished the Outlander series, or got caught up to it like 10 years ago, she went on to read this trilogy by Paulina Simons. And this is, I think, a World War II or World War I series. It's like an epic historical romance. A lot of people say if you like Outlander, you'll like this one. Now, I did read some quotes and I watched some very critical videos back when this was like having a little moment, that the love story in here is very toxic and not great. And I know a lot of people have a lot of criticisms about Outlander in the same vein, and I really enjoy Outlander still, despite those things that like I could see are flaws. So I don't know about this one. I may try it and just not have a good time with it, but I saw it. I was like, I may as well. I'm close to wrapping up the Outlander series, so, you know, I may be like having the urge for reading something like it. So I just decided to grab it. We'll see. I'll kind of make up my own opinion when I get there. And then I found a Blake Crouch book, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This is a science fiction thriller. I have heard, I think, mixed things about this one and Recursion, if I remember right. I heard that they kind of tackle similar topics, and whichever one you read first is going to be the one you like the most, and then you won't really like the other one. So I saw this. I was like, I'll grab it. I still want to read Dark Matter by him first, I think. And then if I like him, then I can pick this one up. But I love a good thriller. I've heard his books are like fast popcorn reads. Like, you don't want to put them down. And I always like having a few of those on my TBR. Another thriller I found is The Plot by Jean Hunt Corlitz. If I remember right, this is about a teacher who's like helping teach like a writing course for a university, and he steals the plot of one of his students' novels and like sells it off as his own. Kind of sounds like Yellowface. I've heard it's like quite interesting. I don't know if it will be like a top tier change your life kind of book, but sounds interesting. I like stories about writing, and so I grabbed this one, thought I'd check it out. I think there's a sequel or like some sort of related book as well that I've seen at the library, so I thought I'd give that a try. And then Isabel Allende is an author I really love in theory. I have DNF'd a couple of her books recently, so I am questioning that a little bit, but I read The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende a few years ago, and I absolutely loved it. And so I found Violetta. I don't know a lot about this one other than it's a historical fiction about women. This one, she's born in 1920, and it's about a woman who lives to be 100 years old, and it's just about her life. I think this is somewhat related to the Del Valle series, the House of the Spirits series, which I only read the House of the Spirits and actually DNF'd the other books because I did not find Daughter of Fortune good at all. But this one is slim. 100 years wrapped up in this book could be like an interesting kind of multi-generational, maybe kind of story, seeing how the world evolves in 1920. And this is also one of her more recent books too. This one was translated in 2022, so I definitely want to give it a try because I do like her writing, and I have quite a few of her books that I plan to read. And then I found 2 Stephen King novels, one of which I know a lot about, one I know nothing about. So the one I know nothing about is Lisey's Story by Stephen King. This is a beautiful wintry cover that is making me think I should pick it up this winter. It's about a woman who is married and has like great connection with her husband, who is a best-selling novelist. And it sounds like he had many secrets, including where he got his great ideas from. And after he dies, Lisey goes to figure out where he got his story ideas from or something like that. I don't know. It sounds interesting. It's chunky like most of them are, but sounds like it could be interesting. And actually the lady who I was checking out these books from when I was done, she was like, oh my gosh, this one's so good. So that was like really exciting to have it hyped up for me. And the other one, she was like, that's my favorite Stephen King, is I found 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I found this like gorgeous hardback. It's like so well kept, and I've heard so many people think this is one of his best books of all time. So I am excited to read it. This is about a man who tries to go back in time to stop the JFK assassination, but he like overshoots by like, I don't know, like 10 or 20 years. So he's like having to live life waiting for the JFK assassination to try to happen so that he can like stop it. But he's having to live like 10 or 15 years like waiting for that to come. And I've heard it's slow. It's focused on characters. It's not going to be one of his like scary, super thrilling ones or anything. But I've just heard so many people say this is like a masterpiece of his, and you really fall in love with the characters. So I was so excited to just get this one. I like snatched it off the shelves, and the lady who I checked it out from was very excited that I got that book in particular. Okay, down to just a couple more. So I was almost done shopping. I was just glancing at the kids' books, and I happened to see this one, and I had to have it. So this is Kingdom Keepers Disney After Dark. My friend Martine loves this series, and I am very interested in it because as a kid, I was like obsessed with the idea of like being like locked in the library overnight, or being locked in a grocery store overnight, or locked in Walmart overnight. And this is about kids who like get trapped in Disney World? Yeah, Disney World overnight. I will say the one thing that makes me worried that I might not like it is that I've never been to Disney World or Disneyland. So like I don't have context for a lot of this, but I do enjoy like Disney movies, and I grew up on Disney movies. So I will know like the characters. I just may not know anything about the actual park. So we'll see if that like hinders my enjoyment. But I do want to do some videos where I'm like reading some of my friends' like favorite books, and Martine and I probably have the least in common of the books we love, but this is like their favorite series. So like I was like, obviously I have to read that and see if I like it. Okay, so the next book I was very excited to see as well. This is A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. Don't mind the kitty slobber. So this is the first book in a mystery series, which I'm always looking to read. I want to find ones I love. I've heard this one has a good romance subplot as well. So this is a historical mystery, London, 1887. I don't know anything about the mystery, but Books and Lala has really liked this. I think my friend Danielle might be reading this soon. And so I'm curious to hear her thoughts. And I'm just really excited to read this. I've heard good things about the series, and my library like never has the first one. It always has so many holds on it. So I am eager to read that one. And then the final thing that I found that I was so excited for was I don't even know what the series is called. It's by Ann Leckie. It starts with Ancillary Justice and then Ancillary Sword and Ancillary Mercy. This is a sci-fi series that I've heard does some interesting things with gender, maybe, or just maybe the way like the main character is referred to. I don't know. I don't know much about it. It says, on a remote, icy planet, a soldier known as Breck is drawing close to completing her quest. Once she was the Justice of Torin, a colossal starship. Now an act of treachery has ripped it all away, leaving her with one fragile human body, unanswered questions, and a burning desire for friendship. Okay, so it sounds like this soldier is going to this icy planet to like complete some quest of vengeance. She used to be a spaceship with like an AI that had like thousands of soldiers, but now she just has like one body. So that sounds like really interesting to me. I've heard it's kind of a complicated sci-fi, but I'm not too scared of like complicated sci-fi. Like the worst I can do is DNF it. I may as well give it a try. This one, so many awards when it came out. It was an award darling. So I was so excited to see this series when I was there, and I'm really excited to give it a try and see if I like it. I'm very interested in Ann Leckie as an author and reading some of the books that I've seen of hers come out after this series, but this one is one that I've wanted to read for a really long time. So that was my book haul. That was so many books. 27 books will be going on my shelves. I actually shopped for these books in October, and right now my DNF/unhaul pile is about 26. So at least when I'm bringing these onto my shelves, I'm getting rid of just as many. And a lot of those are very chunky too. Some of these are smaller. So at least we're kind of evening out the scales a little bit. But this is definitely a lot of books. But they are books that are intriguing me. So I am going to be trying to get to them sooner rather than later. I don't want them to sit on my shelves forever. But Charity does these like monthly. I don't think I'm going to allow myself to go monthly. I think my shelves will get out of control if I do that, because a 50 cents is so hard to pass up. 50 cents for a book is really hard to pass up. So I may go like every 2 to 3 months, and I can maybe like donate a bunch of books, because I do like to unhaul my books either in little free libraries or like give them away to people. So this could be like a good thing to like donate good books to. But I'm very excited to do haul books. I love hauling books. I just need to make sure that I read them in a timely manner. Okay, that is all that I have for you today. Subscribe to see me read these books eventually. You'll see them popping up in little TBRs and reading blogs, I'm sure, in the coming months. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.